It's very exciting.
Yes. So the sort of form she's on, Joe, you saw it in the team pursuit. She's taking no prisoners. How's she going to ride this one? Do you think she's going to bully it?
I'm excited to see how she attacks this race. We've got a mixed field here, mix of sort of youth and experienced riders in there. Katie, we know she's on incredible form from the team pursuit earlier in the week. We saw her do some monster turns in that race. And this is her only bunch race event here at this championship. So we did see Eleanor Barker in the elimination race earlier in the week, Nia Evans in the scratch race. But now she's going to be up here in the points race. Of course, it isn't an Olympic event in itself anymore, but it does form part of the Omnium. So it's still a really sort of key event that the GB team look at these sort of championships events, because it's all, you know, really good experience. And the GB women's squad is, you know, one of the most talented squads in the world for endurance squads. You know, it's really hard to get selected for anything. So any opportunity you do get, you need to grab that opportunity with both hands and really use it to show how good you are.
Well, they were just attempting to go down the line there. We saw Machkova and Maria Martins. They will certainly be trying to stop Katie Archibald, who starts, I suspect, as favourite here. Medvedova as well of Slovakia will go well in this. I am certain of it. Others, Borisa of Hungary, not sure. Isa of Spain, we'll see. As Joe said, there's a lot of youth here as well, but a rack of experience. I think Machkova, Martins and Archibald will be hoping that they can make this their own game. Milaki is here for Greece. We have Birakova of the Ukraine. Medvedova of Slovakia is one to watch. Metro of Switzerland and Zanardi of Italy, who never shortchanges when it comes to this sort of discipline, or indeed any on the track. Dranova from the Russian Federation is here. Spain with Issy, as I mentioned. Savenka of Belarus, and I think I failed to mention Karasevich of Poland. But Katie Archibald often dominates from the front, and when she decides to go for it, she really does. This is a points race, Joe, and so if you lap the field you get 20. If we have intermediate sprints with 5, 3, 2 and 1, double points at the end might well count in this. We just have 10 sprints in total.
Yes, that's right. So we just saw the lap board get corrected there. So we've got 97 laps to go. A few changes there at the top left of the screen. But yeah, you're right. Sprints every 10 laps. The points are available when the lap board says 90. So when it says 91, they'll be sprinting for the line for the points next time. And of course, you gain the 20 points for gaining a lap as well. So that is another really useful way to gain points, especially when everyone else is focusing on the sprint. You can try and get away either on your own or in a small group and try and get yourself some more points that way.
So it can get lively. It may well still also be cagey as the scratch race was, which is purely about distance, but having those extra sprint points up for grabs really does add a lot to the mix, and quite often you have somebody who's uncatchable before we get to the final sprint, don't you, Joe?
Yes, exactly. So in that final sprint, like you said, you get double points on the line, but you know, you can get to a situation where you've got an unassailable lead by that point. And we saw that in the women's Omnium yesterday, when it was Alyssa Balsamo of Italy who was clearly in the lead there coming into that last sprint. So it happens less now that we've got double points on the line, and I think that change was to try and make that last sprint possibly more exciting, knowing that there was more points available, so it's less likely to have an unassailable lead. But it does still happen. 10 points
in the men's Omnium, didn't we? There was a real battle for the bronze medal position.
There was, and it can all change, and I think we all weren't quite sure where the silver, bronze and fourth place had gone at the end there, because it was very, very tight on points. And yeah, I think it's quite a nice change that the UCI have made to do that. It's not something I'm opposed to. I quite like that one.
No, exactly. They don't, you know, I always think governing bodies get a hard time, but to be honest, occasionally the changes are absolutely welcome, and I think that's one of them. So just starting to think about it, and it's the Czech Republic that are having the loudest of thoughts here, and it's Machkova gets herself into a decent position, but here comes Katie Archibald. up and over the top. So who's got what it takes to deny her? And Karasevic of Poland pushes off right now, but Katie Archibald is in the frame as well. First of the intermediate sprints. How much does Katie want this? Is she going to power home? Does she need every point? And she makes one, a big one here, by taking the first of the sprints, and 5 points handsomely, Joe. And they're pushing on here. They're not hanging around. This looks like it's going to be a steal.
Yeah, some slight picture issues for me, so I can hear what's going on. I'm just struggling to see what's going on, so I'll have to rely on you to tell me what's happening at the moment.
Don't worry, Katie Archibald with 5 points, Karasevic of Poland with the 3, Dronova with 2, and Silvia Zanardi picking up the last of the points for Italy. But Katie Archibald doing a handsome job there of securing the 5 points at the first sprint. 88 laps remaining then, Joe. Just let us know when you pictures are happy after she's doing a reboot as we speak. And we have a gun's gone off, just a hold up, and our view is the same as yours, so I'm just waiting to see who has an issue here. And it looks like a puncture, a technical rear wheel puncture for Poland by the looks of things, who just took 3 points. So Karasevic is just going to do a back wheel change by the looks of things as they circulate at the moment. The lap's still coming down, so we're just holding pattern at the moment. Yeah, Joe, a rear wheel puncture for Poland. Unlucky, but won't be overly harshly punished.
Yeah, I've got my pictures back now so I can see what's going on. Yeah, so not ideal for her, but she has just got 3 points in that sprint. So probably a bit more adrenaline now as she comes off the track to get that wheel change. She's got 5 laps to get back in, so that should be doable.
To be honest, you'd expect a spare bike to be to hand at a moment such as this, especially for what is effectively just a one-shot final. Well, still technical at the moment for Poland's Karasevic. I hope she gets back in soon, but they're still racing and they've got every right to do so. And this is going to be another sprint that goes away from her, I'm afraid. She'll rejoin them, but how much pace she'll be able to get back up as we see a steal attempt here. Going long is Metro. She's headed off as if she's on lines and writing some of them as well. And she's got good company here with Maria Martins. This is a danger, Joe. There was a sprint to be had out here and they could power on to get themselves another lap. Poland just about to get back in, and just at the right time as well, will join the pack at pace and try and get involved for some minor points. Picks it up right now. So the leaders, Martins and Metro, Portugal and Switzerland exchanging nicely. They take the bell this time by, and a reminder that Poland's Karasevic is back in and active after that puncture. Here we go. Well, the 2 leaders are caught. Katie Archibald is there. Let's see if the Polish rider, after the puncture, is going to get back on. No, stuck at the back, I'm afraid, so too much time off the bike. Katie Archibald takes another maximum ahead of Greece, Italy and Russia, Joe.
Yeah, Katie Archibald making that sprint look easy. She led that out. It didn't matter that there were 2 riders away. She just chased them down, wound it up from the front, came round them with 3/4 of a lap to go and won that sprint convincingly. So I was thinking there might be a little move there from the Ukrainian to go off the front, but no, that's been neutralised and it's Katie on the front of the bunch still. So no one really keen to work with her. You know, she's shown how strong she is. She's shown she's by far the quickest sprinter here, winning 2 from 2 so far. She's now on 10 points overall. So, you know, brilliant riding from Katie Archibald so far, but I mean she's going to get very little help out there.
Let's see. Well, she's not going to get any help, but I don't think she needs any because she's helping herself at the moment. Maximum points 10, and the mood she's in, I don't think anyone's going to be allowed to go. She chased down that breakaway attempt from Portugal and Switzerland and killed it off single-handedly. Now, how much of a worry is this? The Czech Republic here with Machkova should be a worry. If this turns into 20 points, then Katie Archibald's going to have to match it.
Machkova has done these sort of moves before. She's a previous world champion back in 2013, I believe. She won the rainbow jersey in the points race. Not quite so well known for her sprinting speed. Far prefers to go on the attack like this and gain a sneaky lap. And you know, she's got a huge gap here straight away, and all eyes are on Katie Archibald to do the chasing. And look, no one is keen to work with her.
Nobody's keen to work with her, but Katie is not going to try and chase this down. She's going to try and hold her on a very, very long leash. And whenever the pack starts to slow down just a little bit, let's see, we could do the long shot to see how close she is. Just about half a lap at the moment, and almost there. I've seen riders get within, 30, 40 metres, and then the pace is changed within the pack. They just hang out there and eventually just die on the vine, as it were. But let's see if it comes to fruition, shall we? 74 laps to go. Katie playing it cagily at the moment, doesn't want to be anyone's fool and use all her resources at moments such as this. To other people's disadvantage, don't forget, if she goes off, it's not just about Katie Archibald this race. There'll be others who start to see their medals chances disappearing as Magicova pushes on. So Katie's on the front right now, so setting a pace that suits her, but more than that, a grinding down pace, because Katie's still exchanging and taking a rest, don't forget. So she's able to put something back in the bank, as it were, in terms of power that she's going to use a little bit later on. And for the time being, Machakova's job is starting to look a bit laboured here, Joe.
It is, but she's going to come round and have the bell this time for the sprint. There goes the bell, so the points are available on the line next time. So it's looking like at the moment that she will certainly pick up maximum points in that sprint, and we'll see what happens with the bunch behind for the minor points.
Now, they should speed up because there are still vital points up for grabs. 3, 2 and 1 once the 5 goes the way of Machakova. And so it's how fast they go. 5 points then goes to Machakova, who's still attempting to get back. 3 sprints have been now won, but waiting for the minor points right now. Russia, Belarus and Great Britain. Katie picks up just the 1 out of that, Joe.
Yeah, so it looked like Katie was easing over the line there, not contesting that sprint full gas compared to the first 2 which she went for. So the big question at the moment is, are the bunch going to ease up and let her gain this lap? And, you know, once she's got the lap, okay, she's going to get the 20 points, but the rest of them can start racing for the points again. But the longer they leave her out there, the more she'll keep sweeping up points, and they let it get until the next sprint at 60 to go. So they need to sort of decide, are they going to let her gain that lap, or are they going to get a chase together and bring her back in?
I'm just looking at her cadence, and it's starting to go the other way for her, I'm afraid. You can see she's being held out there at half a lap, so clever work by the rest of the field, and essentially they're neutralising her threat for later on in this race. She might pick up some intermediates, but I don't think it's going to be too damaging. And then once they do scoop her up, Joe, as the Ukraine push off right now with Birakova as well, then once they do sweep her up, I think she may well be slightly more exhausted than those who are chasing on. Depends how much work they do. It's a clever game they've played with her. They've basically neutralised one of the threats here, Machakova, by letting her hang. She's taken 1 intermediate sprint, but at what cost, Joe?
Yeah, that was a long ride out there for essentially just 5 points. She doesn't gain this lap, which it looks like she's not going to now. That was a lot of work, a lot of time out in the wind on her own, and just 5 points gained. But this is good for Katie Archibald to get her back in, and Katie can go back to winning sprints, which she's been doing so well so far.
And clever riding by Katie Archibald. She did not impose herself in the chase. She tempted others to do some work as well. Little jink up there by Maria Martins, who started off one of the early moves and wants to be where she needs to be if there's to be another one. And Spain it is, of course. Who else? Issy goes for it. Zorza heads off right now. Spain masters of this on occasion. Portugal as well, just can't resist but take the bait. They're heading off as well. So it could be an intermediate that goes the way of Spain. Let's see. So a maximum of 3 available for the favourites who still stay in the pack. This is very active. It's been a wonderful points race so far, Joe.
It has been, and I'm impressed that Katie Archibald, like you say, with the chase of Machakova there, she didn't do it all herself. She could have easily got in the front and, you know, been the bunch engine, as it were, as the race leader, but she made others get involved and didn't put herself completely on the line, which was good. That was a mature way of racing. I think it's easy when you're a young rider to do too much too soon, but she did have faith that the other riders would bring her back, and of course she did come back.
Well, there's a European title up for grabs, let's not forget. So it looks like Isasi is going to take this one. sprint number 4, but behind her, in her wake, there's going to be a big old charge. Let's see how much advantage she's got. Not quite the half lap, and here they come up and over the top, and it looks like Katie Archibald's getting herself into position as well and steals it. Fantastic. Good to see Poland back and in the frame, functioning after that unfortunate puncture. So 2 points to Poland, but 3 for Katie Archibald in the 4th sprint. Well, Spain got the maximum there. 59 laps to go. It spun down rather quickly. Final point went to Zanardi of Italy. Well, this has been very busy so far, and somebody, I feel, is going to take a lap, and I feel that that person may well be Katie Archibald. Oh dear, she's showing such poise and intelligence at the moment, and we know that she's absolutely rack full of a whole load of power. And look at that margin at the moment. She leads by 8 points from Dronova of Russia. Well, if you're going to get something out of here, if you're going to stop Katie, then you're going to have to go for it, and Italy do so. Only 4 points so far for Zanardi. She wants 20 to add to that and would take the lead if she manages to tempt a decent, powerful quartet to go on the chase. Well, who's involved? That's the big question. She's going to have a little bit of a gap here. Russia chasing down Poland and the Ukraine. Still no panic, but that looks like a very good alliance that's just starting to set itself out front. How dangerous is it, Joe?
Oh, this is semi-dangerous here. We've seen that the Italian women's squad have been on fantastic form throughout this championships, and she's pulled out a big gap there, but she needs someone else to work with her. So you can see her just swinging up the track there, just waiting for the Russian rider to come through so they can work together as a pair, because that is a far better situation to be in for the two of them. Well,
very strong, and exchanging rather nicely. And here comes Katie. She's bridged over to the chasers, sailed by 2 of them, and I imagine she's going to join this and turn it into a trio. So the alarm bell was clearly loud and clear, and has been answered, a clarion call if you like, by Katie Archibald. Those who she's dragging over here are getting a bit of a free ride. They knew that Katie had to chase this down. Clever riding by Bulgaria, I think it is. Belarus, I beg your pardon. Couldn't see the green livery. And just tucked in, finally didn't see the green livery, I should say. There is Switzerland as well involved. Now they could push on this quintet, but I don't think they're minded to do so at the moment. And it would make it their game to play. Poland worried about that, likewise Portugal, so they push in. And settle yourselves in then and start to consider the latter half of this one. The middle sprint, the 5th sprint, is coming up. And the Ukraine start the action. Katie just changes the pace and tucks in. Rider 2 at the moment on her shoulder, as you can see. Italy and Zanardi never that far away. Russia, of course, want to be where they need to be. Dronova just traces around, and here comes Katie Archibald, and it's going to be 5 again by more than a bike length. She's looking powerful, Joe.
She is looking very powerful, and I'm impressed with how she's riding here. I was impressed with Zanardi, the Italian. When she made her attack, she waited until Katie Archibald was right at the back of that bunch, and that was her best opportunity to go for it. But Katie still got herself up here, and you can see Katie, she's just got so much power. She's just looking over her shoulder here, just seeing where is everybody. She doesn't need to drive this group because she's already got a huge lead, and she knows that she can win from the sprints. It's up to the other riders that know they haven't got so much speed in the sprints to go on the attack and try and do something to get themselves that 20 points from a lap gain.
Well, Belarus has gone, and Katie Archibald, yeah, I wonder whether she's messing with their heads. She leads by 11 now. Now, this is the perfect scenario that we're telling you about for Katie Archibald. If nobody takes any laps, then it doesn't matter who wins the final sprint with double points at the very end. Katie would be European champion. However, there's stragglers to be lapped here. They'll be picked up along the way, and it looks like nobody's got the legs to outpace Katie Archibald. She's playing mind games as well, let's not forget, Joe. When she powered through the sprint and then just carried on and offered up a margin of, what, 8-10 bike lengths to those behind, and they didn't know whether it was an attack or not. And it was after the first corner that she just drifted up the track as if to say, no, just kidding. They gain through. I love that sort of mind game that she's playing with everyone at the moment, as if to badge up the fact that she's got an awful lot of power and she can use it at will.
Yes, and she needs to be mindful that she's clearly one of the strongest riders in this race. And sometimes when that's a situation, those can be the harder races to win. Sometimes when you're really strong, you know, you want a really hard race. You want it to be attack after attack and that you can get yourself in the right place at the right time. At the moment, with it being a little bit slower, with no one else really challenging the sprints, it is a case of racing more intelligently. And I'm really impressed with how she's doing that so far. We're now over halfway through the race. We do still have 5 sprints to go, though. So far, Katie Archibald on 19 points, having won 3 of the sprints so far, plus a 2nd and a 4th place. She's scored in every single sprint.
Technical issue for Spain by the looks of things. We'll see in a few moments' time. Bouncing up and down as if she's got a slow puncture here and wants to test it out. Meanwhile, Portugal and the Czech Republic with Mačková, who tried to go for a long one earlier. So did Portugal. So they've formed a loose alliance and away they go. But Katie Archibald is putting the fire out once again, taking Zanardi with her. Zanardi gets a free ride at a moment like this. And so there goes the exchange with Russia also involved here with Dranova. Also multiple points scoring, but nobody's scored as many as Katie at the moment. She's on 14. A handsome tally, and the bell's going to go now to announce another sprint lap coming up, Joe.
It is, and once again, Katie Archibald at the head of the bunch here, just easing round the Czech rider, looking like she's got plenty of pace in her legs. Just looking over her shoulder there, just checking where her rivals are. She doesn't need to go full gas if she doesn't have to.
And cedes 1 spot here, but throws the bike to take the 3 points. Allows Italy's Zanardi. I wonder whether she's actually buying favour there, that Zanardi might well do some work in the battle for silver if she keeps her in that frame. I mean, it's a clever game that you play. You have to keep an eye on your rival's tally as well. Zanardi takes 5, Archibald the 3, Dranova of Russia the 2, and Poland with a single point there.
Yeah, so you're right. You say you've got to keep an eye on where your rivals are in their points tally. So there is an electronic scoreboard up in the velodrome, which the riders will be able to see whilst they're riding around. Of course, there's always a little bit of a wait for it to be updated. We're just seeing the standings now on our screen, but the riders will need to just take an opportunity. You know, you only get an opportunity once a lap to glance up at that screen, and it can be quite difficult to read it sometimes and exactly see who's on what points. There's a little bit of maths involved as well, but hopefully you've got a coach that will be tracked on in the back straight that will be able to give you little tiny snippets of information. You don't need the full gist of exactly what's going on, just a little bit about, you know, who you need to be beating in the sprints, who is the threat to you if they go on the attack.
And Joe, if you don't kill off the ambition of your rivals and you keep it alive, the race for them, they're going to work, and that's all part of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Katie is showing here how strong she is, but there's a danger with that is she's got such a huge lead. Everyone will just look to her and they'll be thinking, right, you know, well, you've got this race. It's nice to have other people as well involved in that race and also challenging her. And we're now seeing Maria Martins of Portugal trying to make a bit of a move here.
So Katie now needs to outscore her Italian nemesis, Zanardi, when she can. But I think she believes she can do that at just about any time. She's offered her the last sprint, threw the bike to take the 3 points from Russia's Dranova, incidentally. And so Portugal it is that sets off right now with 34 laps to go. Let us see. It's gone cagey behind, and that's what you'd expect. Now this, I think, will be... Katie will want to outscore Zanardi at the next opportunity to put more than 10 points between herself and Zanardi, and she won't be bothered. There is 10 points at the moment, but that's just not enough. She needs 11 points, because if they both finish on with the same points at the line, whoever crosses the line ahead of the other then will be declared the winner, even if they are ultimately on the same points after they're all tallied up. And so with the final sprint offering up 10 points, that's the margin at the moment between Zanardi and Katie Archibald. So it's not enough to guarantee the title before the final sprint, which I think Katie Archibald will want. However, let's wait and see. maybe we're over-strategizing. Right now, Portugal have gone for it. Maria Martins is starting to think about a medal. Whatever colour that will be at the end is anybody's guess. But right now, she takes the 5 points, and this is Katie outscoring Zanardi. Perfect job there, Joe.
Yeah, so Miriam Martins has gone on the attack here. That is the first time she has scored some points in this race. So, you know, we normally really enjoy watching Miriam Martins race, but unusually for her, that was her first point score so far. Katie just doing a nice job there of leading the sprint in to take second place on the line, but it is Zanardi who's now gone on the attack after that sprint.
Yes, but equally Zanardi and Archbold, they could look at each other, and I don't think Zanardi has got the beating of Archbold, but Archbold and Zanardi might well form a fighting force. It was Karasevich of Poland that took the final point there, and let's see, they've bridged over to the Portuguese rider, so this neutralises the lap gain. How much work do they want to do? And indeed, well, look at this, there's not a great deal of work from the pack, so they'll almost automatically come round and gain a lap, which will make it a 4-horse race, Joe.
Yes, it would, which plays nicely into the hands of Maria Martin, putting her right up in that leaderboard. But also the Polish rider, she's currently in 4th place overall, so it's Russia who'll be the big losers here.
Well, the Polish rider didn't exactly put on a full charge turn there. That did not look like she was adding too much power at all. They're going to lap the field. I don't think they want to collect the intermediate. Katie Archibald just want to wrap this one up, and she's the one that charges into it. So 4 riders in the frame for a medal, and anyone who's stuck within this group, well, has now got to lap the field, and I don't think that's going to be possible. The big loser here is Dranova of Russia, Joe.
And look what Katie Archibald and Zanardi of Italy are doing. They were just hanging off the back there. So Martins and the rider from Poland got back on, but they were just hanging off. But now they have made that jump to the back. I did think initially they might have been trying to hang off for those sprint points, but I don't think so now.
I think it's possibly a bit dangerous. I think in a race of 4, that's where the medals are going to come from. So there we are. Poland, what a great result that is, to have actually suffered a technical earlier on and now in with a chance of a medal. And Poland had scored on, Karasevich had scored on 4 different occasions in terms of sprint points as well. So yeah, it's a private party now. Portugal, Poland, Italy and Great Britain. And of course they're going to come through. Here we are, and there is confirmation of it. The battle for the bronze medal between Poland and Portugal, let it rage. Let's see who's got what for the bronze medal, but it looks like gold and silver. We know who the favourites are for those. This is down to Zanardi now to try and steal something off Katie Archibald, and that's a very difficult task. It's suddenly gone extraordinarily cagey. Time to hit out for minor places, but Katie Archibald just gets engaged with the drive. Poland here with Karasevich is there in wheel 4. Katie Archibald just locking in her Italian nemesis, and then neither of them are going to point score on this intermediate. There we are. So minor points only get established, but 2 speed off with, but only by a margin of 6 or 7 bike lengths. I don't think so. We're going to see another lap gain here, Joe. I think it's going to get cagey all the way to the line, but I think Katie Archibald must be very happy with the way things have panned out.
I think she will be. Crucially, there was a 2 points gain there for the Polish rider, taking her onto 29 in total. She's now 4 points clear of Miriam Martins, who's in 4th place. But Katie Archibald, 11 points clear at the top from Zanardi of Italy. So she's in a really nice position now. Still 2 sprints to go, of course, and double points on the line. There
are. Very close. And Russia, I think, must be feeling aggrieved. And this is Dranova now. But guess what? There's how it stacks up. 11 points is the gap. Now, Katie Archibald does not want to throw it away, that margin on this next intermediate. So she needs to get to her Italian rival Zanardi and make sure she outscores her at this next sprint, which is in 7 laps time. If she outscores her at this next sprint, she has just about wrapped up the European title, Joe.
Yeah, she would have done. And yeah, so 10 points available on the line. So currently there's still 15 points available maximum if there were a rider to win the next sprint and then win the final sprint. And currently Katie Archibald's got an 11-point lead. So technically Zanardi could still win this. That is without talking about lap gains. But yeah, Katie Archibald being nice and attentive, and I think she's being careful not to do too much work, but still make sure she's marking her rivals.
Yeah. And watch the Portuguese rider here, because having seen points go away to Poland and Karasevic, she wants to score some points right now. If Katie Archibald outscores Zanardi in this next intermediate sprint, then she can't be caught on the final sprint. That's the facts, Joe.
Yes, that is the facts.
So let's see.
Wait and see for this one.
Katie will spin off, but let's see. And Portugal, of course, lighting it up. Russia, it's a forlorn hope for Tamara Dronova. We're thinking about a top 5 place only, I think. Katie, she's sitting at the moment in front of Zanardi, which would surprise me. No Zanardi going to get engaged within this sprint. You'll hear the lap. Oh, I beg your pardon. There she is. Suddenly comes out of the pack, and this is going to force a response from Katie Archibald. She has to outscore her to be certain of this not going to a final sprint decider. There's the bell, and Zanardi has flown the coop. Now, can Katie Archibald get back to her? If she can't, then it's come down to a very dramatic final sprint, and she's not going to catch her. Well, what a clever ride by Silva Zanardi. Came straight out of the pack like a rocket. She's going to get 3 points here, which will cut the deficit. Well, Katie picks up 2. Is it 10, Joe? So it's it's head-to-head. It's a 10-point gap between them. The perfect balance for the end. Well, we've got a final sprint decider then, Joe.
We do. So Katie Archibald now sits in the lead on 47 points, followed by Zanardi of Italy on 37 points. 10 points separating them, 10 points available on the line for the winner. So Zanardi could win this if she wins the final sprint and Katie Archibald doesn't score. So that could still happen. So Katie Archibald still needs to be attentive. It's by no means a foregone conclusion. But there's also a battle for the bronze going on there as well.
There is 29 points versus 25. Gosh, well, so much to be accounted for at the end of this women's points race. I do love points racing, Joe. It's a mathematical stretch for me, but we get there in the end, thank heaven. Birakova as well. There are minor places up for grabs, don't forget, and everyone will be battling out of their skin to finish as high up as they possibly can. Let us see how it pans out, shall we? 13 riders involved in this one. 100 laps, 25 kilometers, and we're nearly there. So Katie just needs to make sure that she stays on the wheel of Zanardi. Zanardi would have to win this sprint, and this is no good to her at all that others are skipping off up the track. This plays into the hands, of course, of Katie Archibald, but just in case, she's hanging around. Poland, questions being asked. Karasevic is there with the big red stripe. Now she needs to win this final sprint and make sure that Portugal's Marina Martins finishes adrift of her. Portugal is here. There's 4 points between those 2 riders for bronze, Joe.
Yes, there is. So it's a tight battle here for the gold. Well, not such a tight battle for the gold, a tight battle for the bronze, and not a foregone conclusion for the gold. So Katie Archibald there, marking Zanardi of Italy. To be fair to Zanardi, she's made some really good attacks in this race and really picked her timing nicely. She's made Katie Archibald work for this one so far.
Certainly has, and let's see how much more work he's going to be engaged with right now. Portugal playing catch-up here, which is why they are being forced to lead out. So Martins it is on 25 points. 4 to the good of her is Poland's Karasevic. And so it's been a very active Portuguese rider, but I don't think to any avail. So here we go. Katie Archibald, I think, wants to win this final sprint and just make it slightly emphatic. Let's have a look. She's cranking it up right now. Final lap, and the bell is ringing in everybody's ears, echoing around this auditorium. There you are, from P4 to P3. The drive goes on, and yet more medals. Well, there's the bronze to be decided, but Katie Archibald, high, wide, and handsome on the blue line, and she's going to come home here for the maximum 10. Super job. Bronze assured here by Poland. And considering the technical that Karisovic had, that's an outstanding ride. But Katie Archibald is European champion. Silver medal to Zanardi, and the bronze to Poland's Karisovic at the very last. What a terrific points race that was.
That was a terrific race. We're just seeing shots of Zanardi there of Italy, who really took it to Katie Archibald and timed some really good attacks when she saw Katie Archibald was perhaps a little bit further back in the bunch or something. But Katie Archibald taking a fantastic win in that final sprint and then taking the overall victory. 57 points to Katie Archibald, Zanardi 39 points.
Well, that's the way to underscore your greatness. No points scored there by Portugal at the very last, but a brave ride it was by Maria Martins. But Katie Archibald started this race as out-and-out favourite, and she rode like one, didn't she?
She did start as the favourite. So we said before that the women's endurance squad for the Great Britain cycling team is just, at the moment, head and shoulders above most other nations in terms of strength and depth of talent. And when you're in a squad of such talented riders, you need to grab these opportunities when you're out here racing on international races to show how good you are, because it's tough just to get selected. But Katie has ridden this race knowing she's the favourite on the start line, knowing that her teammates have won other individual events this week, and she's taken that pressure, dealt with it brilliantly, had an absolutely fantastic win this evening.
Super job. What a great championships. Confirmation of the result. Archibald takes it with 57 points, Zanardi on 39, Karisovic on 35, Martins finishing in 4th place ahead of Dronova, who sped up for 5th there with 19 points. I enjoyed that, Joe.
So did I. That was a really good race.
Well, we've got more good racing to come up. Shortly, now that we've dealt with the women's points race, we're going to have a couple of award ceremonies, and then we're going to have the men's points race. More of the same. To be honest, I'd like them to separate them on different days, but that's just me. Because this is 160 laps that we've got coming up, Joe. That's quite a reach, 16 sprints in total.
Yeah, so women's race was 25 kilometres, 100 laps, 10 sprints. Men's race is 40 kilometres, so 160 laps with 16 sprints. You asked me yesterday about how many track cycling events aren't equal in terms of distance, and I didn't name the points race. That was my mistake there. But yeah, of course, quite a big difference there in terms of distance. Still the same setup, still the points on the line every 10 laps, 5, 3, 2 and 1, double points on the end. But with a lot longer race, it's even more of a test of endurance for the men coming up later.
Just looking down the start order,